We're walking through Dejima in Nagasaki, Japan. And Dejima is really famous for being, the first major port in Japan that dealt with international trade and really learned from foreigners. Of course, they did learn from, the Koreans and the Chinese and others. But, here's how the story goes. In the 1500s, the Portuguese arrive at, Dejima in Nagasaki, and they begin this trade with the Japanese. And of course, they brought foodstuffs and things like that, even weapons and technology and scientific ideas and medicines. But the problem is they also brought Christianity. And fast forward to the 1600s, where the Tokugawa shogunate saw Christianity as a threat and eventually banned it. And so in the 1630s, the shogunate said, okay, merchants in Nagasaki, you're going to build an island that people are going to, from foreign countries are going to come to, and that's the place they're going to be able to trade. So the port of Nagasaki, the Chinese could trade, and here at Dejima, only the Dutch. The Portuguese were kicked out, Christianity was banned, because the Dutch were a group of people that decided to, really just focus on trade and not spreading religion. They were allowed, but they were only allowed on Dejima. Now Dejima sometimes is translated as exit island, but really it means protruding island, or an island that sticks out. It's completely human-made. It's an artificial island. And of course, over time now, it's been filled in. After the Meiji Restoration, Nagasaki, lost its prominence because, cities like, Tokyo and Hakodate became places where trade was happening. So Nagasaki was less favored. Now, right here, we're in a room where sugar was stored. And sugar was a big thing. The Portuguese brought this idea of castara, which is kind of a cake. And so anyway, merchants in Nagasaki, got pretty rich, and the Dutch got pretty rich through this import of sugar, of course with other things too. But this is why Nagasaki itself is quite famous for castara. So if you come here, you got to buy castara. But that was a Portuguese thing that they brought. So we're going to walk through some of the buildings here where we can see, the architecture that was built here. Now, the Tokugawa government had about maybe 200 not magistrates, but officials that actually, lived here on the island and administered the trade that was going on. And so we're walking through some of the buildings that some of these Japanese officials lived in, as well as, these Dutch traders. So anyhow, as time went on, like I said, Dejima kind of lost its prominence, but it still is very, very important for understanding Japanese history. And we'll go into one of the rooms here where you can see this is where one of the Japanese officials would have lived. You can see they have their abacus there where they would have been counting, how much something may have cost or whatever. Basically, people lived on the second floor and business was done on the first floor. We'll just keep walking through so you can get a sense of the architecture here. And of course, you've got the Japanese style, but other buildings too, you can see the Western style. Now we're going to stroll down this way a little bit while we have time. It's interesting because you can see the cityscape here. If we walk down a little bit further, there actually is a seminary, which is known as the very first Protestant, Methodist to be specific, church. It was actually built as a school. So really it was a seminary, which is a school. And if we don't run out of time in the video, we'll walk down that way and you can kind of see that. And if you're wondering why there are so many Japanese junior high school students, it's because it is the time of year where Japanese junior high schools do what's called Shugaku Ryoko, and they travel to different parts of Japan and learn about the history and the culture of the country. And we're going to just keep walking down here so you can see a bit of the architecture. And of course you can see the European as well as the Japanese influence.